Do you want to learn how to make awesome 3D animation like this? Learn Blender with our video tutorial series. Start with a completely blank slate and with no pre-knowledge required. Follow step-by-step tutorials to bring wonderful stuff to life. Like this, or even better, like this one. Nah, it's still too plasticky. Well, we won't rest until you perfect the art. Subscribe now to our channel Kiwitek NZ on YouTube.
Okay, so if you liked that video, I've got some bad news and some good news for you. The bad news is you're not going to make that kind of an animation just by watching this tutorial. That will come later. The good news is you're going to learn something today. You're going to learn how to make a basic donut, how to put the icing on top of it, some sprinkles, and a little bit of animation. Remember, what we are doing right now is just learning the basics of Blender. My tutorials are more pre-beginner for people who are interested in Blender, want to explore what is Blender, and want to get started with some easy steps. So let's get started making our first donut. As always, you'll be presented with the default cube, X, delete it. Now for the donut, we are going to add mesh, add a torus. There you go, we have a donut. No, we don't. Okay, now before we do anything, click on this little section here which says add torus. If you want to make any changes to the default attributes, this is the time to make it. Otherwise this is going to disappear and then you will have to play around with scaling the object. So yeah, right now what we see is it's a 1 meter shape. Nobody wants a 1 meter donut, so we are going to reduce it to just about 5 centimeter. Now that's too fat a donut, so we change the minor radius and we change it to, yep, that looks pretty reasonable for a donut shape. We will leave all the other attributes as they are, yep, and click away. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a modifier, subdivision surface, that adds more vertices to it, and I'm going to shade smooth it. There you go, we have our donut. No, we don't. It's just an object which is shaped like a donut. To make it a donut, what we're first going to do, let me add a material to it. I'll add a brown color to it. Okay. And let's see how it looks as in a rendered shape. Go back to the object mode. We go to the edit mode. We want to add some icing to our donut. So first I'm going to look at the donut from the side view, which is just press 1 on your numpad. So press 1, side view, click on this toggle X-ray, because what we want to do is we want to select the top half of this donut, and clicking the X-ray view makes sure that we have selected all the vertices across the object, even those which were behind them. So there you see, if we had not clicked the X-ray mode, we would have selected only the vertices that were visible to us. So now we have selected the top half of the donut. Shift D, that duplicates the object. You can see I've got icing object which I have created, and just leave it there for now. Now we're going to separate that into a different object. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate it by pressing P. So the hotkey P brings up separate, and I'm going to separate the selection. So that creates a different object, as you can see, torus and torus 001. So that's my, let me go to object mode. So I've got a donut and I've got icing on top of it. Let's in fact rename the torus as donut and torus 1 as the icing. Let's look at it in the render view. Both the donut and icing currently have the same material, so it's brown in color. So we have the icing selected. With icing selected, we add a new material to it. Add new, gives me material 2. In fact, I'll call this material pink, and I'll call material 1 as brown. Okay, now the pink, so let's give it pink color. There you go. Yep. And The icing still looks brown even though we added a pink material to it because the brown material is on top. So we delete the brown material, we got a pink icing. And now you can change the color so it looks like a pink icing. There you go. So you have a donut with pink icing on top. Now, what we could do is we could add a few sprinkles to it. I'm going to add some sprinkles in the most craziest manner. This is not how you do sprinkles in actual 3D animation, but I'm just going to show you just for the sake of it. What does a sprinkle look like? A sprinkle looks like a cylinder. There you go. You got a big 1 meter cylinder out there. So I'm going to reduce the size of that cylinder to look like until it looks like a sprinkle. Make it 0.001, and yeah, that's too much. So 0.002. So scale it on the z-axis to make it a bit taller. Yeah, that's the sprinkle that I want, and I'll add a new material to the sprinkle and make it a blue sprinkle. There you go. Grab it, put it somewhere. Grab it and put it somewhere on top of the icing. This is not how you do sprinkles, by the way. So I got my first sprinkle. That's this cylinder out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename the cylinder and call it sprinkle. So right now my donut and my icing are in the same collection. I'm going to separate the sprinkle into a different collection. So move, M for move, and move it to a new collection, call it sprinkles. I repeatedly keep telling you this is not how you do sprinkles, but I'm just stuck in a loop right now. Okay, so let's just add a few sprinkles randomly somewhere on the donut. There you go. You have some sprinkles there. Rotate them and place them somewhere. So I'm pressing R, and I'm not bothered right now about which axis because I want it to be a random rotation of the sprinkles. So press R, rotate, and you'll just have some random sprinkles there. Okay, so now you can see I can now select all of these sprinkles, shift and select all of these sprinkles. I can act on them and I can move them around, or I can scale them as a single collection. So let's do a little bit of animation with these sprinkles. You have got your keyframes down here. Let's make it 48 frames. You'll remember from the previous tutorial that the animation by default is happening at 24 frames per second. So that's 2 seconds animation. I'll insert a keyframe right at the end of the animation. So I insert, and this time I'm going to do a location, rotation and scale keyframe. What this does is it actually adds a keyframe for every sprinkle object that I've got in that collection, because I've got all of them selected right now. Okay, now if that's the end point, let's rotate that collection, and let's say I rotate it on the z-axis and bring it here. Press I to insert a keyframe for location, rotation and scale. Go back at frame 15. I'll again rotate it, this time on the y-axis. Bring it up here. Rotate it on the x-axis until all of them are visible. Rotate it on the z-axis also. We're just giving it some movement. Okay, insert, location, rotation, scale, keyframe. And at frame 1, I'm going to, in fact, also move their location. So grab all of them, bring it up, and scale it out. Scale and rotate insert a location, rotation, scale, keyframe. Okay, let's see how that looks. Completely crazy animation there. I had no plan to make them fall out of the sky like that. I was just freewheeling my way, showing you some kind of animation tricks. If you had a plan in mind, you would first chart out where you wanted the sprinkles to start with and what you want the sprinkles to do, and you would just keep making the frames based on what you actually wanted them to do. Now, even at 2 seconds, this seems too slow to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these keyframes and actually bring them closer to each other. So that will make the animation go much faster. Shift, select both the keyframes, bring it close together. Shift, select all the keyframes, bring them closer. And now if you play the animation, there you go. Huh. Great. Why do I animate? So why only the sprinkles? I could animate this. I could animate all the objects in this scene. So we have the sprinkles. In fact, what we'll do is we want the sprinkles to come in right at the end. So we keep it out there. And at frame 1, I will actually grab them and move them out of the view. Okay. Now remember, this is our viewport. So this is how we are seeing the scene. It is not how the camera sees it. So press Control Alt and numpad 0 in order to move the camera and make it look at the scene the way we are seeing it. So Control Alt 0 brings the camera and makes it look at the scene from our perspective. So this is what will get rendered. Okay. So that was the camera view. What we're going to do is I think I need the camera a little bit back there. Yeah. And the scene out here and keep it here. And then Control Alt 0 to make the camera look at it from this perspective. Now grab it on the Z axis, bring it a little bit, bring it down a bit. Yep. Okay. Now select all the sprinkles, grab them, bring it out of the camera view, and insert a location, rotation, scale, insert a keyframe. So at keyframe 1, I don't have the sprinkles in the scene at all. At keyframe 1, I'm going to select the icing, and again, this is the final keyframe at 48. This is where I want the icing to be. So insert a keyframe. I'm not going to change the scale of the icing, so I'll just select a location, rotation, keyframe. That's the end scene where I want the icing to be. Move back to keyframe 1. At keyframe 1, I want the icing to actually fall out of the sky. So grab and put it right at the top there and insert location, rotation. There you go. Now you see. So let's say, so 48 at keyframe 12, I want the icing to start falling, but I also want it to rotate on the x-axis. There you go. Insert location, rotation. Come to keyframe 24. Rotate on the x-axis. Bring it up out there. R on the y-axis. Bring it and rotate it like that. Insert location, rotation, keyframe. 24, 36. At 36, I want to again rotate it, bring it out there, rotate it on the y-axis. There you go. Insert location, rotation. There you go. Now let's play the animation, see how it looks. Now what you're seeing here is the icing layer is going below the donut layer before rising up again at frame 48. So why does that happen? Because of the rotation that we've got at 36. So to correct that, at frame 42, I'm going to again rotate it on the y-axis and bring it up here. Insert location rotation keyframe. There you go. Okay. Now if you've got the icing and the sprinkles flying in, why is the donut stationary? So select the donut, that's where we want it, at frame 48, insert location rotation keyframe, and at keyframe 0 grab the donut and maybe place it outside the camera view, just out there. Insert a location rotation keyframe, and then just like we did with the icing, in fact you don't need to do much with the donut. All you need to do is you just need to correct the icing a little bit so it does not start merging into the donut as it flies in. It is pretty much automatically doing what we want it to do. So to do that, what I would do is I would actually bring the donut into its final position before the icing falls that far. So let's say halfway through the animation, I would actually like the donut to already be in place. So I bring that keyframe to frame 24. And now the donut will come into place much earlier than all the other objects. Yeah, so let's play it, and there you go. Again, this is not how you will actually animate. This is just to get you started with Blender and get you learning the various keys and commands, so that when you actually do the advanced tutorials, you would not be struggling to find out, with these keys and shortcuts or with these basic concepts. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we'll see how to actually make a better donut than this.
Subscribe now to our channel Kiwitek NZ on YouTube